Well, we made it. The first official week of the college basketball season is in the books, but we're still trying to figure out who is who in all of these conferences. And so today, it's a deep dive into the new look Big 12. Stay with me right here on Locked On Women's Basketball.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, friends. It is Monday, November 11th, 2024. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there, young and old. And also a special recognition to all of the families who support our veterans in the past, the present, and the future. We owe a debt of gratitude to all of you for your service. I am Missy Heydrich, national correspondent at The Next and basketball analyst. Welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. Thanks for joining us. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. So introducing the Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On NBA newsletter. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA, all uppercase, for $20 off your first purchase. Well, you can follow me at Missy Heydrich on Twitter, and then also be sure to follow this podcast at Locked On WBB. And come see us at thenexthoops.com, where we have all of your coverage for college basketball. It is nonstop, as well as a sprinkle of all things in the offseason for the W and everything else in between. Well, the buzz has been building all across the country, and we are now 1 week into the college basketball season. We've been watching preseason rankings, trendy picks, players to watch. But now the season has started, and as the old adage goes, the rubber really does start to meet the road. Today, we're going to deep dive into the Big 12 Conference and all things related to it. Another year, a new look league, who's left, who's in, which teams are positioned to make a run for the title, who are some of the new faces to watch out for, and how did everyone fare in this first week of action? Well, we knew that the Big 12 was going to be one of those leagues that, again, saw change. We had Migration Day, and it happened back in August. And with that, two teams leaving, Texas and Oklahoma off to the SEC. But 4 teams into the Big 12, which really changed the look of this league and continues to span the footprint. That's exactly what has been the focus for this league and the administration in the front office, is that they want to continue to expand the footprint of this league, take you from coast to coast, from time zone to time zone. And that is exactly what has happened. The 4 corner schools joined the Big 12. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. Yes, they all came from the Pac-12. That is a conference that we do not see it as it is, as we have known it for 100 years prior to. But those 4 schools joined the Big 12 and changed the face of it tremendously. We're seeing it across the board in every sport. But now that the college basketball season is here, we deep dive and to show you what it's going to look like from the women's basketball side. 4 programs that have all had their fair share historically of great success. You're talking about an Arizona team that was just in the Final Four in 2021. You've got Utah, a team that has won a Pac-12 championship just 2 years ago. An average in the last 3 seasons, having been won close to 24 games on average in the past 3 seasons. You've got Colorado, back-to-back Sweet 16 appearances coming into the season, and an Arizona State team with a history of great success in Tempe. All of those things lining up to make them great additions to the Big 12 when it comes to women's basketball. Now, how is this going to work? 16 teams. That's a big question. It was always kind of the determination of what it was going to be. Well, the way that the season marks now with the first with 16 is that teams will play 3 opponents home and away, and then they will face 6 teams at home only and 6 teams on the road only, for a total of 18 games. Now, as this season has gotten off, when the preseason polls came off, the Big 12 tied for the national lead with 4 of the top 16 teams in the AP Top 25 poll. That is tied nationally, 4 teams in that AP poll. Who were they? Well, they were Iowa State, Kansas State, Baylor, and West Virginia. A lot of interesting dynamics as this league looks to see who they are and what they are early on. But I can tell you, it is loaded from top to bottom. Great coaches, great rosters, and a ton of star power. All right, how we're going to walk through this today so I can give you a snapshot of sort of who's who and what it looks like. And then we'll tell you, how did these teams fare in the first week? What should we be looking to expect? And what's down the road for everyone early in the non-conference, because I think that sets you up. Big 12 play will kick off that first weekend before the Christmas holiday in December. That's when it will start. So you will see those first conference games prior to the new year, which is what you have to do if you're going to put in 18 games in a regular season conference schedule. All right. We're going to go through this 1 through 16 based on how these teams looked in the preseason poll voted on by the coaches. And it starts with Kansas State. And that is who at the number 1 spot was picked to win this. They received 7 first place votes. Iowa State had 6, West Virginia, Baylor had 2, and West Virginia had 1. But Kansas State lands themselves for the first time in a long time at that position of being picked to win the Big 12 conference in the 24-25 season. Well, what does it look like for the Wildcats? It's a very simple equation. Ultimately, if you're going to look at this, it is, has this team, as Ioka Lee goes, this team goes. She is back, came back for yet another season, her last one in Manhattan, having dealt with a host of injuries throughout her career. Keep in mind, she was a redshirt her first year because she sat out, having sustained a knee injury at the end of her high school season back in Minnesota. So she sat out that first year. Then she was a redshirt freshman. She sat out 2 years ago the entire season because of injury. She missed 7 games last season because of injury. And that was when the Wildcats struggled. So it ultimately is going to be how she goes is how this team will go. Now, they've opened the season, first 2 decisive wins. We'll talk about that later. She did not play in the second one against Belmont, but I do think this is a Kansas State team that returns the nucleus around Lee. It is going to be a conversation that you're going to hear a lot about over the course of the year, and that's going to be load management. They're going to have to manage her minutes, and they're going to have to figure out how much time she's going to have to spend on the floor. Key pieces is whether you have someone that can back her up. A bright spot early for the Cats right now has been Kennedy Taylor, and she was the 6th player of the year a season ago in the Missouri Valley. She's come in the transfer portal this year as a senior. I think she could give them a little bit of a boost in the post when Lee is not available, or she might be in foul trouble, and or again, they're managing those minutes. One of the big factors and an X factor for this Kansas State team and returning Serena Sundell, who's a first-team all-conference preseason selection, also on the Naismith watch list, along with a host of other things that Lee is on, is the addition of Tamara Poindexter. She comes from Tulsa, where she had been the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year, averaged close to 21 points a game there last season. Would her scoring be able to translate early in the system of what this K-State team wants to do? She has been effective. Look for her to be able to continue to help the Cats as they move forward. Second in the poll, in the preseason poll, was the Iowa State Cyclones. This is a mixture of young faces and veterans. And the veteran starts with Emily Ryan, back for her 5th year as well. And she's going to run the point. She became the all-time assist leader in Iowa State program history last season. And she kind of ushered along a group of youngsters who made a name for themselves. You're going to hear the name of Addie Brown over and over this season, and most definitely the name of Audrey Crooks, the inside player who was one of the top scorers in the Big 12 a year ago, now a sophomore. She shot almost 57% from the field last season. Great talent. Others around Ryan and those 2 spectacular sophomores are going to be some key transfers. Marquette transfer Mackenzie Hare. She knocked down 91 threes last year at Marquette. Lily Hansford comes from Oregon State, where she shot almost 45% from behind the arc. All 5 players on the floor for the Cyclones have the green light. Bill Finley, now the dean of the Big 12 coaches. He's got talent up and down the board. A lot of people questioning whether or not maybe. I think that they are absolutely a top 10 team right now. They've got the talent and they've got the pieces of the puzzle. The Cyclones were finished to pick 2nd in the Big 12 poll. 3rd was the Baylor Bears, another team that appeared in that AP preseason top 25 poll. It's been a program with a history of success, and I truly believe Nikki Collin, now this is her 4th season, is putting her mark on this program. They were in the Sweet 16 last season, and she's got a lot of the pieces back. Another 5th-year senior guard, Sarah Andrews, returned. She was one of their top scorers a season ago. I just love this player. She's blossomed under Nikki Collin. She's the kind of guard you want to have the ball in her hands when they need to make a big play. You pair her with Jada Walker. A year ago, they were a dynamic duo for the Bears backcourt. Walker lit up Virginia Tech. She had 28 points in that upset win that catapulted them into the Sweet 16 last season. 6'1" junior Dariana Littlepage Buggs. Remember, she was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year 2 years ago. She's a handful, a matchup problem. And one of the things that they addressed in the portal for Baylor, that was that they needed size and athleticism in the post. They got it with Colorado transfer Arinette Vonleh. I think she is going to be a big piece of what they need to do this season because of her physicality. She's a workhorse, she'll rebound, and she can score. Sometimes you just need someone to bang on the post, and I really do believe that's Vonleh for Baylor. All right, when we come back, more about this Big 12 conference, how everybody has fared. There's a little bit of it for everyone, and there are so many teams to keep your eyes on. First, a message from our friends at FanDuel. So get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Maybe you were watching the Chiefs against Denver yesterday, as I was, everybody in my hometown of Kansas City. Maybe you bet on the Chiefs, maybe you didn't, but you have a chance to do it now with FanDuel. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Hi, everybody. Missy Heidrich, and thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. So happy to have you here with us. And we are talking about all things Big 12 women's basketball and what the season looks like. All right, we know it's Kansas State, Iowa State, and Baylor in those top 3 spots. In at #4 is TCU. Did not receive any votes for a first-place finish, but this is a loaded Horned Frog roster. Mark Campbell's 2nd season now in Fort Worth, and he did what he did a year ago, went to the portal, and that's exactly what they needed. So many new faces and a bunch to be able to bring it back. Now, for me, I think this starts, obviously, you're going to know about Sedona Prince. She gets her 7th year. She returns. Last year, she missed a section of games during Big 12 play. She only played in 21 games last year because she had a hand injury. But of that 21 games, 13 of them were double-doubles. So she is a force in the post. That inside-outside game, the pick and roll is what they love at TCU. She's fit just for it. Madison Connor, one of my favorite shooters in the TCU. This kid set the single season record last season at TCU for made threes. She can light it up. She's worked on her mid-range game and making better shots and finding better looks in that pick and roll system. Keep your eye on Madison Connor. But I think the biggest pickup in the portal, and probably everyone thought was the #1 player, is Haley Van Lith. She spent years at Louisville, last season at LSU, and now she is at TCU, a bronze medalist from the Paris Olympics in 3v3. Feels like her game can really thrive. It can build. She can improve in this system that they have at TCU. Keep your eye on that. And a host of other transfers. Maddie Shear comes from Oregon. Taylor Bigsby from USC. You've got Donovan Hunter, who had a fantastic freshman year a season ago at Oregon State. All big numbers, all big players coming together at TCU. They're in that poll at #4. In at 5 is West Virginia, another team that was in the preseason AP poll, and for good reason. You've got one of the best backcourts in the Big 12. And J.J. Quinterly, the reigning Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year and a first-team all-conference player, and Jordan Harrison, who had an outstanding season. her first year in the Big 12. She came from Stephen F. Austin, which is where her coach had been, Mark Kellogg, who now in his second season at West Virginia has built some pieces. They have depth and they have the ability to not only allow players like Quinterly and Harrison to run the show, but this is one of the best defenses in the nation. Without Texas in the league, they are the best defense back in the Big 12, and you will see it. It is pressure. They thrive on it. They want to create chaos, and they do a great job then of capitalizing. West Virginia, the 5th pick in the preseason poll in the Big 12. In at number 6 was Utah, one of the newest members, the first new member into the Big 12 in this Utah team. I said it earlier, keep in mind, the Utes have averaged just under 24 wins in the past 3 seasons, including that Pac-12 title 2 years ago. No Alicia Pilley inside, but a host of returners for Lynn Roberts. This is now her 10th season. She said during Big 12 Media Day, she feels like this is truly a program. It's built around the kids who have vested in it, and they absolutely have that. Players like Jenna Johnson, who has come back. She shot over 50% from the field and hit double figures 13 times last season. She is a senior. You've got junior Gianna Neepkins, a preseason All Big 12 selection. She missed all but 8 games a season ago with an injury. She is back. Keep an eye on her. Senior Kennedy McQueen. Also, you've got transfers in Chira Evans and Maya Torre from Rhode Island. They gave them some post presence without Pilley now inside. Utah is going to challenge. They are going to beat people in this league. You can mark my words on that. In at number 7 in that preseason poll is the second new team into the league, and that is Arizona. They had a host of injuries and just untimely adversity a season ago. But what it did allow Adia Barnes, the head coach at Arizona, coaching at her alma mater, to be able to do was to give minutes to young players. Now those young players, they're sophomores. And as she said in Big 12 Media Days, quote, "We got young sophomores, but they're going to play like juniors," end quote, because of the time they got on the floor a season ago. Keep your eye on a few of those. That would be players like Jada Williams and Skylar Jones. They're back. Bria Cunningham had a fantastic season a year ago and is off to another great start. They will be challenged. They will have tough games on the road, but this Arizona team has a style that many haven't necessarily seen in the Big 12, and I think they will take some people by surprise. In after Arizona, in at that number 8 spot is Kansas. They were back in the NCAA tournament a year ago. They had a group of super seniors that Brandon Schneider was able to rely on. They are there no longer. Young faces are going to run the show. You've got Yvette Mayberry, who is a 5th-year senior. She will be their point guard when she is healthy. But one of the names to keep your eyes on is Samaya Nichols, a fantastic freshman season last year. She was a first-team All-Big 12 performer and on the all-freshman team. The thing about Nichols' game is that she is comfortable out on the perimeter. She's comfortable handling the basketball. She can go one-on-one. She can take over point guard duties, but she is a true scorer. And her physicality is a tough matchup for most teams in this league. Now, there will be a lot of new faces on the roster for this Kansas squad. One of them is Elle Evans. She's a transfer from North Dakota State, shot over 40% from 3 a year ago at the 6'3" forward spot. So keep your eye on Evans. Also, they got another transfer that comes in Sanaya Copeland that comes from Wisconsin. The 5'7" junior guard gives them more depth out front. Kansas will be challenged in their non-con, but they have an opportunity to shake things up and are looking to make it back-to-back appearances in the NCAA tournament. Back and then in at that number 9 spot, right behind Kansas, an old Big 8 and Big 12 friend went to the Pac-12 and now comes back, and that is the Colorado Buffaloes. We mentioned it earlier, back-to-back Sweet 16 appearances for J.R. Payne's team. They look very different than they did a year ago. They've got some familiar faces and players like Frida Foreman, Kendall Wett. They are back out front. They've got good shooters. They also have the preseason freshman of the year in this league, and that is Tabitha Benson from Colorado. The young woman is from Canada. Can she make the impact that from Australia? Can she make the impact that they are looking for? To be determined. A very different squad for Colorado. They're going to take their lumps early, but can beat people in this league. No doubt about it. In at number 10 is Texas Tech. They were 17-16 overall a year ago, 5 Big 12 wins in 23-24. One thing that Krista Gerlich now has in that 5th year back at her alma mater in Lubbock, as she has some consistency and some players that are returning. Junior guards Jasmine Shavers and Bailey Maupin, both of them all conference honorable mentions last season. They are back. You also have to be able to like Jordan Merritt, who came back last season. She's a native of Plano, Texas. She had returned. She'd spent time at Florida in the SEC. She's familiar with that high-level P4 basketball. Had a good year a year ago, finally healthy, I think, and feeling like she can be an impact player at Texas Tech. They're going to snap up and surprise some people, but they're going to need some help from some of the new faces and from some of the young players that they have added to this roster as well, looking to get into the NCAA tournament this season. Right behind them, Oklahoma State, another team, a lot like Arizona, just decimated and dealt with injuries all season long. A difficult road for JC Hoyt, as she really wanted to be able to see if they could get those first 2 seasons that she was at the helm of the Cowgirls program, if they could get back into the NCAA tournament. Didn't happen because of all those injuries, but some bright spots. One of them now is sophomore. She's in that super sophomore category for me, and that is Staley Hurd, the guard from Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Kind of a do-all thing, ball in her hands, makes things happen for herself and for her teammates. Keep your eyes on Staley Hurd and this Cowgirl program, because they are going to be tested and they're going to want to see what they can do early, but they know that they have an opportunity to get up and down, play fast, and defend. All right, when we come back, we are going to talk more about the rest of the teams in this league, where they stack up, and how the first week of action went. A message from our friends at Game Time, the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Filter-only incredible deals on great seats with Game Time picks. You get to see the view of your seat on the phone before you buy it. All-in pricing shows you the total cost up front, and you can buy tickets in seconds in just 2 taps. This new feature called Game Time Picks makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks shows you only the best value on tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time. What time is it? It's game time. Hi, everybody. Missy Heidrich, and welcome back to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm giving you a rundown of the Big 12 Conference for the 24-25 season, and then we will hit the highlights of what happened this week, because there has been some great games and some great showing so far by teams. Now, we've run through, I think, the first 11. We've got the last few here of where teams are. Now, this is not at all indicative of where these teams will finish in the final standings. I am a firm believer in that, because there is no one that is going to run through this league. There is going to be multiple losses when it gets to conference play. There's no way you can play an 18-team schedule, an 18-game schedule, play 3 teams twice, 6 teams on the road only, and 6 teams at home only, and not drop them along the way. It's the old adage, some you're going to win, some you shouldn't, and you're going to lose a couple that you should not as well. That will happen in the Big 12. Mark my words, it is guaranteed. Let's talk about the BYU Cougars. The one message out of Big 12 Media Days from Amber Whiting and from her players is that they're going with the motto of bigger, stronger, faster. That was the first year in the Big 12, what it showed them, that they know those are the things they have to do. Now, no more Lauren Gustin inside to be able to dominate the glass for BYU. However, the system will look different and they will play faster. They want to get up and down and they want to go. One of those players I think you're going to see a lot of is Amari Whiting, is back after a great first year as a freshman, probably not 100% physically, finally is getting to that point because she had a high school injury that she was coming off of. But the daughter of the head coach, ready to take a bigger role. Again, even though she wasn't maybe at 100% or feeling totally comfortable in this league, led that team last season in assists. Also, keep a lookout for a freshman who already in the first week of play has had some outstanding games, and that is Delaney Gibb. And I think she is going to challenge for big-time minutes. She is a 5'10 guard from Alberta, Canada, with international experience and a top 100 recruit in the class of 2024. Keep your eyes on them. The Cougars looking to make some waves and finish higher. They were 6-12 a year ago in the Big 12. Right behind them is Cincinnati. They were picked 13. They were 5-13 in league ago, won 14 games on the season. The first year at the helm of her alma mater, back and spent time at Memphis and back at Cincinnati, Katrina Merriweather. She's got some great returners, and I think people that are going to really help. That starts with fifth-year senior Jillian Hayes. She was an all Big 12 honorable mention last year, already off to a great start, but she was their top scorer the last 3 seasons, did it last year, and a piece that you can build around. Also, you've got players like junior Ariel Jackson. She started 23 games last year. And another one to keep an eye on, who I think is a big transfer and one to circle, because what they needed was a point guard where they could move some of the other players on the roster from last season who returned back to their natural position. They went and got that point guard out of the portal from Texas A&M, Tanea Hilton. She was second on the Aggies a year ago in assists. I think she is going to be one of those unsung players to keep your eye on and really help Cincinnati put them in the upper section of the Big 12 standings. Right behind Cincinnati comes in at UCF. They have one of the most dynamic scorers in the league, if not in the country. She led the Big 12 in scoring a year ago, and that is going to be the senior guard at Caitlin Peterson. She'd spent time at Indiana. It was her first year at UCF last year, their first year in the Big 12, and she did it with a bang. This kid can score out in the open floor, in the half court, and you've got to be able to contain her. She needed help. She needed more presence inside, and Cynthia Messer did exactly that. She went to the portal, and she brings in Hannah Gusters, who I think can really help them in the post. She had been at Oklahoma State a year ago, but now back with a familiar face, having been coached by Messer in the past during her time at LSU and at Baylor. I just think there's a lot of pieces of that puzzle starting to come together more at UCF, and they will, as everyone in this league does, challenge themselves in the non-con. But I think you put that post presence with Peterson and some other guards, and UCF will be a handful at home and on the road. Behind them is Arizona State. They were picked 15th. Now, a year ago, again, dealt with injuries, as did Arizona, Oklahoma State, a lot of teams around the country. The adversity, it comes with it, but it's also an opportunity. And some of those were some players that are returning. But one big get that Arizona State does get back this season is a player who's returning herself, could not play a year ago, and that was Ty Skinner. She was out of the backcourt for ASU last season, had been with Coach Natasha Adair at Delaware, comes to ASU, was out last year because of injury, but I think she's one of those dynamic guards that can really make a name for herself in the Big 12 and help Arizona State win more games in league play. They've got big goals. They went to the portal. They found some size and some length. That will be huge for the Sun Devils in Tempe. And then rounding out the 16 teams of the Big 12 are the Houston Cougars. Now, Ron Huey, he has been known to have a team that is going to compete, and they are going to scrap and they are going to claw. No pun intended to all the Cougar fans out there. But I think that's what you're going to see from this Houston team as well. A building process, high-level success in the American Athletic Conference. But the Big 12 has been different, and they knew that. But this is also a Houston team that's got some good returners and faces they can build on. One of them is Layla Blair, the 5'8" graduate student. She led this team in scoring a year ago at just shy of 16 points. And then they've got 6'4" center Peyton McFarland is back in the post. She gave him almost 20 minutes a game last year. You need that size to be able to compete in the Big 12. But there is a handful of new faces and transfers coming in from the likes of Texas Tech and Louisville and Wagner, all of them helping to boost not only the offensive performance of Houston, but what they like to do defensively, because they will get up in you and make your life miserable. Houston will steal some games in this league this season, no doubt about it. All right, so we said it earlier, kind of how this first week has gone. Well, star power, great teams, big-time performances. That is normally what it is all about. Arizona, Iowa State, BYU, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Tech, UCF, Utah, West Virginia, and Kansas, all still undefeated after week one. Arizona, they sit at 3-0. They were busy, as was Iowa State at 3-0. Different games, different opponents, but you like to see that winning way, and that's what this league is looking to establish. Now, if you're Houston, they struggled. They went 0-2. They lost to UTRGV as well as a loss at Georgia on Friday, November 8th. They lost to the Bulldogs 61-47. They have not found the win column yet, but they absolutely will. We know it will happen. For Baylor, they go 1-1. They had an early win in the week and then took it on the nose in a 2-point loss yesterday on Sunday, November 10th at Oregon. We knew that would be a challenge. It's a very new look, different Oregon squad as they head into the Big Ten. That was a challenge for Baylor. I believe they're going to learn a lot about themselves coming out of that one and be ready for what is on the list. Arizona State, they go 1-1. Colorado goes 2-1. A couple wins, I think, that stand out. It was BYU with a very good win against Wyoming, 76-63. They are 2-0, as well as you had a loss by Colorado at Boise State. They drop one 50-47. Probably not the performance that J.R. Payne was looking for on the road by the bus, but something that they can learn from. Frida Foreman has not been available. She had dealt with some injury early. When she gets back in the lineup, that will be huge. Kansas State, I think 2 decisive non-conference wins this first week of the regular season. They dismantled Green Bay on Monday, the 4th, and then were handled easily the Belmont Bruins out of the Missouri Valley on Thursday, November 7th. That game, circle it. That was a game they handled Belmont without the help of Ioka Lee. That goes into that load management that we've been talking about. It's going to be a popular phrase when you talk about the Kansas State Wildcats this season, is how they do that with Lee, but they did survive. They themselves, a huge test coming up this week against a very good Creighton team that will be in Manhattan on the 14th, Thursday, the 14th. Cincinnati, they go 2-0. Oklahoma State goes 2-0. TCU goes 2-0. We mentioned all of those. UCF, Utah, West Virginia. Kansas, just one game. They have a heavy load coming up themselves. All of these teams will be challenged in the month late in November as they think about tournaments in sunny destinations. Could be the Caymans, the Virgin Islands, the Bahamas, you name it. They're all doing it. But it's going to be great non-conference tests to continue to showcase how good this league really is. So again, 4 teams were in the AP preseason top 25 poll. Regular season is hit. Those are going to shake up. We're going to see teams go in. We're going to see teams go out. But the one thing that you can count on with the Big 12 Conference, great coaches, outstanding teams, huge star power, big goals, big expectations. That is absolutely what the Big 12 is all about. And I look forward to sharing it with you guys all throughout the season. We can do that right here on Locked On Women's Basketball. So thank you for joining me. Make sure you follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Missy Heidrich. And then I need you to go over and visit this podcast at Locked On WBB for all of the news all throughout the week. And then go see my amazing colleagues at thenexthoops.com, because we have you covered for everything that you need about women's basketball, the college game, the pros, international, the news and notes, everything that it is, because you're going to find it at The Next. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just remember that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On NBA Newsletter. Thank you again, everybody, for listening and for watching today. And happy Veterans Day to everyone, past, present, and future. We thank all of you and your families and everyone in between for their service. We would not be here without you. Enjoy your day, everyone. Enjoy your week, and come back and see us all week right here on Locked On Women's Basketball.